I want to know how much longer the owner's going to watch this crap, because the fans have had it. We deserve better. You're just worried more about your stadium than you are your football team. That's the perception, Jimmy. And you allow these people to do this. You have the worst offense in the league. Your GM screwed this quarterback thing up like I've never seen in my life. I've never seen anything like it. Kids that play Madden could have done a better job. You can't just throw guys out there. Let's try this guy. Let's try that guy. That's what the Browns are doing. That's why Andrew Berry's got to go. If we want to see Shedeur Sanders be his best, you got to commit to him. You got to get coaches that are going to coach him up. You got to get an offense that he's comfortable in, and you got to have a whole offseason committed to him coming to training camp to try and not only win the job, be the QB1. There has to be a commitment.
The Cleveland Browns just beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shedeur Sanders just threw his best game in a Browns uniform. And yet somehow, the biggest question mark hanging over this franchise isn't whether they won, it's whether Jimmy Haslam and the Berea Brain Trust will finally commit to the kid who just dragged them to victory. Tony Rizzo went off on his show. And when I say off, I mean he torched the entire organization's inability to commit to anything resembling a quarterback plan. This isn't just about Shedeur Sanders anymore. This is about a franchise that has spent 2 decades chasing ghosts, chasing messiahs, and refusing to build something sustainable. Let's break down why Rizzo's frustration represents every single Browns fan who's watched this team fumble quarterback after quarterback, draft pick after draft pick, and season after season.
Chris, 26, 27, and 28. When we go into that new stadium at 29, the Browns have to be a playoff contender. You get a quarterback this year, it gives them 3 years to get ready.
Here's the clock that's ticking. The Browns are opening a brand new billion-dollar stadium in 2029. That's not just a building, that's a statement. That's supposed to be the dawn of a new era, the rebirth of Cleveland football, the moment when everything finally clicks. But you can't walk into that stadium with a 3-14 team and a rookie quarterback who's never taken a snap. You can't ask fans to pack the nicest stadium in America when you're still figuring out who's under center. Rizzo gets it. 3 years, that's the window. You draft or commit to your quarterback this offseason. You give him 2026 to develop, you give him 2027 to compete, you give him 2028 to win. And then you walk into that new stadium in 2029 with a playoff caliber team and a franchise quarterback leading the charge.
You start kicking that can down the road, you're not going in there with a rookie quarterback off a 3-14 season. That ain't gonna happen.
This is the part where Jimmy Haslam needs to wake up, because if he thinks he can wait another year, punt on Shedeur, chase some college kid in the 2026 draft, and then start building, he's going to walk into that new stadium with empty seats and angry fans. The timeline doesn't lie.
If you're gonna make your big Messiah move, I'm now calling it the Messiah move. If you're gonna bring in some quarterback who you think is gonna be the answer to all your troubles, which I think is an absolute joke, you better do it this offseason.
This might be the most important point Rizzo makes. The Browns have a disease. It's called the Messiah complex. They keep thinking there's some magical quarterback out there who's going to save the franchise overnight. They thought it was Baker Mayfield. They thought it was Deshaun Watson. They've cycled through Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett, Joe Flacco, and now Shedeur Sanders and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And every single time they hedge. They bring in competition. They draft backups. They refuse to commit.
You can't just throw guys out there. Let's try this guy. Let's try that guy. That's what the Browns are doing. That's why Andrew Berry's got to go.
Andrew Berry, the general manager who's supposed to be building this thing. And what has he built? A quarterback room that looks like a support group. Deshaun Watson on a fully guaranteed contract that's handcuffing the franchise. DTR as a developmental project that never developed. Shedeur Sanders thrown into the fire without the commitment or infrastructure to succeed. This is organizational malpractice. You can't build a championship team when you're constantly second-guessing your most important position.
if we want to see Shedeur Sanders be his best, you got to commit to him. You got to get coaches that are going to coach him up. You got to get an offense that he's comfortable in, and you got to have a whole offseason committed to him.
Let's talk about what commitment actually means, because it's not just saying Shedeur is our guy in a press conference and then bringing in 3 veteran quarterbacks to compete with him. Commitment means building the offense around his strengths. Commitment means hiring coaches who believe in him. Commitment means giving him the weapons, the protection, and the time to develop. Commitment means accepting that he's going to make mistakes, he's going to have bad games, but you're riding with him anyway. The Lions committed to Jared Goff. Everyone thought they were crazy. Goff was a bust in LA, right? Wrong. The Lions said, "This is our guy." They built around him, and now he's leading one of the best offenses in football. The San Francisco 49ers committed to Brock Purdy, a 7th-round pick, Mr. Irrelevant. They didn't panic when he had a rough game. They didn't bring in veteran insurance. They said, he's our quarterback, and they built a championship-caliber team around him.
Yes, it's going to be very hard for me to want to give up because there's no doubt that they have glaring needs, and they have a lot of them.
The Browns have holes everywhere: offensive line, wide receivers, defensive backfield, edge rushers, but none of that matters if you don't have a quarterback. And right now, they have a kid who just beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's shown flashes of elite arm talent and who's begging for the organization to believe in him.
In that locker room.
In the building and everything, we've been pretty consistent with what we've been doing. The only difference is now we got the result we were supposed to get, you know? So I don't think the difference between a win and loss is a couple of plays. It wasn't about how you're going about your business, how you're doing everything. Everybody's going about their business the same way. Everybody's extremely locked in, extremely focused on what they got to do. But today we just got the result we was looking for.
Listen to how Shedeur talks. This kid gets it. He's not making excuses. He's not blaming the losses on anyone else. He's saying the work was always there, the preparation was always there, and now the results are starting to show. This is quarterback maturity. This is leadership. This is what you want from your franchise guy.
What makes this game so significant is that you find yourself, and I'm serious here, guys, you find yourself in a spot where you go, is he unplayable?
No.
Is he?
Oh, my God.
And
no.
That's the exact point. I think for a lot of Browns fans out there,
he fits right in.
You can't say he's unplayable.
Unplayable. That's the word. Can you look at Shedeur Sanders and say he doesn't belong on an NFL field? Can you watch him throw dimes in freezing weather against a playoff-caliber defense and say he's not good enough? You can't. And that's the problem for everyone who wants the Browns to draft Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward or whoever the next shiny college kid is. Because Shedeur just proved he can play. He proved he can win. He proved he can lead.
I can't say he's going to take off and have this tremendous future, but I don't think he's unplayable. So he's not your typical 5th-round guy. I think we've all established that.
5th round, that's where the Browns got him. That's value. That's the kind of pick that championship teams make. And now they're sitting on a potential franchise quarterback who cost them almost nothing, and they're going to mess it up by overthinking it.
I still am not convinced that Jimmy Haslam, don't get mad at me, okay? I think he's still waiting for Arch Manning.
And here it is, the elephant in the room. Jimmy Haslam, the owner who can't help himself, the owner who's desperate for a quarterback and willing to move heaven and earth to get one.
And I know that the owner is desperate for a quarterback and is willing to move heaven and earth, obviously, as we've seen, to try to get somebody that he's convinced is going to be a great quarterback for his football team.
This is the Deshaun Watson trade all over again. Haslam gets obsessed with a name, a reputation, a messiah, and he forces his front office to make a move that handcuffs the entire franchise. What if Haslam decides he wants Shedeur Sanders? What if he decides Shedeur isn't flashy enough, isn't big enough of a name? What if he decides to mortgage the future again to move up in the draft? That's the nightmare scenario, because Shedeur Sanders is right there. He's on the roster, he's cheap, he's talented, and he's ready to be developed. But if Haslam can't get out of his own way, if he can't resist the urge to chase the next big thing, then this franchise is going to waste another 3 years.
If you think there's a quarterback in this draft you want to do that to, fine, but commit to the guy. Commit to him.
That's
Don't
fair.
bring in 2 veterans and draft 2 rookies. What the fuck? What kind of commitment is that? Come on.
This is where Rizzo drops the hammer, and he's absolutely right. You can't build a championship team with a quarterback competition. You can't develop a young quarterback when he's constantly looking over his shoulder. Pick your guy, build around him, give him everything he needs to succeed, and if he fails, then you move on. But at least you gave him a real shot.
The offseason is the guy, or would he be competing with somebody? Could there be, you also... People were watching Malik Willis and Tyler Huntley. Like, are those guys in play? Mac Jones, is he going to be in play?
Mac Jones, Tyler Huntley, Malik Willis. These are the names floating around as potential competition for Shedeur Sanders. And it's insulting. It's organizational cowardice. It's the Browns saying, we don't believe in you enough to make you the guy, so we're going to hedge our bets. You know what happens when you do that? You end up with a mediocre quarterback room, a confused offense, and another losing season.
Have they done that for Shedeur? Hell no. Hell no. And you know what? Whether they want to or not, fine. I hope the kid can go somewhere where somebody does that for him.
And there it is, the ultimatum. Commit to Shedeur Sanders or let him walk. Stop wasting his time. Stop wasting the fans' time. Stop wasting another season. The Browns have 3 years to get this right before they open that new stadium. 3 years to build a playoff contender. 3 years to finally end the quarterback carousel. Shedeur Sanders just gave them a blueprint. He showed up, he competed, he won. Now it's up to Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry to show the same level of commitment. Make him QB1, build around him, give him the keys to the franchise, or let him go somewhere that will. Because if the Browns blow this, if they chase another Messiah and waste another 3 years, then that beautiful new stadium in 2029 is going to be filled with nothing but disappointment and empty seats. The clock is ticking, the deadline is set, and Tony Rizzo just said what every Browns fan is thinking: commit or quit.